So welcome everyone to the Becoming a Heart-Driven Leader webinar. I'm Jill Whalen, blogger with whatdidyoudo.with jill.com, and I've got Esther Van Toledo with me. Is that how you say your name? I hope.
If you're from the United States, that's exactly
right. And she's gonna be sharing some information on how to become a heart-driven leader. We've kind of just met a couple months ago, I'd say, through a Facebook group, wasn't it? Is that how we met? From the Wisdompreneurs group, I think. But we've been having a few chats and just Skype chats with each other, and I've found a lot of the information she's been telling me about what she does to be really interesting, and so we thought we'd let other people in on it too, because if I'm finding it interesting, I'm sure others will too. So Esther, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and we can hear some more.
My name in the United States is Esther Van Toledo. For the Dutch people, it's Esther Van Toledo. Most people I know, I can see they're online. So hi, everybody. It's nice that you sketch some time out in your evening, most of you. Hopefully we have some people from the US joining in later on. They seem to be a little less attentive to time.
Maybe they'll watch the recording, possibly.
Yeah. And, well, we're going to talk a little. And the way it works is just Jill and I just going to start off. We're totally winging it, as to make it fresh and in the moment and from the heart. So I have no idea what kind of questions Jill is going to ask, and Jill has no idea what kind of answers I'm going to ask. And it happened for 2 or 3 months ago that we chatted for the first time, and then the second time, and then we got so interested, and then Jill said, we should put this on an online hangout. And I was like, sure. And that really was interesting because it taps into one of my fear triggers. So I was interested to have this journey with Jill, with myself and with all of you. So today is also a journey for me. So welcome.
I just love putting the fear into people. It's always fun. So can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this heart stuff?
How did I get into the heart stuff? I worked at Coca-Cola for about 7 years ago, and then I had a burnout, and I did want to stay into the same job and role I fulfilled. So after the burnout, I came back, and I made some adjustments, and I was more in my energy, was more balanced, but I was noticing for the first time that I was satisfied, but I wasn't happy. So at one point, there was a kind of an epiphany moment. Now you're going to ask what kind of epiphany moment, no?
No, go
on. Where it was revealed to me that I was constantly looking for, where do I need to go? What's my next destination? And that's usually where a lot of people are. It's so when we're adults, it's so interesting with getting there, and when we're children, we're much more interested in being here. So, and then on later age, you get to do this reverse journey. You still want to be in the here and now, and not think too much, and not conclude your way. So one of those moments where I was thinking too much in my Coca-Cola time, and I was looking into where to go, the epiphany moment showed me, like, maybe there's not a way to go forward, but where you're not happy. And that's where you're at right now. So any direction is good. So I was very busy thinking about what's the right direction, what's the best destination, what's good for me, where will be most happy. So at that point I thought, so I don't know where I'm going, but I do know I don't want to be here. So I stopped my job. Walked into the office with the director and I said, I'm leaving. And he wanted to negotiate with me, and I said, it's a choice from the heart. We cannot negotiate. It's going to happen anyway. It's a matter of timing. But, and then I left. Then I went on a world trip. Or no, money came my way. So I kind of jumped. And that's also what I feel is the hard way. It's at one point you just trust that when you jump off a cliff that something will hold you when you land. And it did. Because I just jumped and I had no safety net, no money saved. I had a mortgage on my house, I had a beautiful car. And happily it all survived because money came my way. I forgot about a lot of shares that were still on a bank account. So all of a sudden I had money that I didn't know of before. And then I thought, okay, I can do two things. I can start a company, but I still didn't know what I wanted to do, or I can go on a world trip. And when I thought of that, that really started my juices flowing. Like, I got excited, and I thought, okay, so that's going to be the direction that I want to follow, which is usually the hard way, is to get excited or you get joy. So then I went on this travel, and I met many business people just randomly, and they had life-changing results from these meetings. And that kind of surprised me. I didn't trust it at the beginning. So after a few re-encounters of me in just shorts and a shirt, and I mean, I didn't look businesslike at all. I started to call people and I said, can I call you in 3 months? Because it seems like people have long-lasting impact results. I don't know how it's happening. And from that journey, it was whispered to me like an inner voice. You need to go back into business. Even though I said when I left Coca-Cola, I'm never, ever, 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 ever going to be in business again. I'm going to paint, I'm going to write, I'm going to dance, I'm never, ever, ever going to be in business. Well, I ended up going back in business, and now with a completely different state of being. It was before I was afraid of the density and the fear-based systems. And then it was easy for me to just hold the light and just be, basically. Long story, but that's how I got to do it.
What do you think, what changed for you then to make it easier to, you know, to like actually go back into business and stuff? What, you know, something switched in you, it sounds like.
Good question. I think what happened during those 7 months on my travel is an act of surrender. And from the act of surrender came trust. Because when I surrendered into the ways of life and trusted, more magical things seemed to happen. So I came from a part where I was trying to control my emotions and control what would happen to me, trying to predict the future, into just surrender into the moment and trust that whatever will be sent my way is good. And so magic happened. Well, a lot of what we call coincidences or synchronicity. And then it became effortless. And then it's just learning to trust that more. But that's, I think, is the biggest shift, is from the surrender, stop trying to control everything or putting away emotions, stop trying to stop sadness, for instance, but just be with it. From that came this deep sense of trust, and then life shows you that it's worthwhile.
It's so interesting because I realize a lot of the same stuff, you know. It's so I had a similar path where, you know, had a successful career as well, and then, you know, somehow my inner guide told me to, you know, it was just time to just give it all up for no particular reason at all, but somehow, you know, hearing that and doing it, it's kind of amazing. And I thought that was really unusual, but I've since learned, you know, I hear so many other people, especially women, you know, who get to this point in their lives as well. It's not as uncommon as you think, although a lot of people seem to say that it takes a lot of courage, which I didn't feel that way at all, because it just, you know, my inner wisdom said do it, and I just did it. But a lot of I think the letting go that you talk about is huge. Would you say, you know, it took courage?
No, I'm happy you brought it up because it didn't take courage. And usually, sometimes I in my sessions with clients, they sometimes read the story on my website, and then I said, I want to do exactly what you do, but I am afraid, or I have a mortgage, or I can't, for whatever reason, I can't. And it seems like they're putting it in my hands that I want to have a decision made. Whenever that push is still there, and I said, then it's not time yet. When there's still so much going back and forth and being very either fearful or forceful about your decision making, then it's not time. You're not in alignment yet. Wait. Life will tell you when it's time. You will go, and it will feel not like anxiety attack. It will not feel like, oh my God, this is so overwhelming. I'm so courageous. It will feel like, guys, there's really no other way. I know, shaky, but very certain. And when I stepped into Coca-Cola, even I tell people, when I went this Monday morning, I stepped in, and even if my mom or my sister or the whole family and friends would be in the hallway just before the door of the director, and they said, Esther, don't, you have such a great job. Coca-Cola is fantastic. I would still say, I see that, I get that, and I'm still going. Love you guys, and still have to go there. So yeah, I agree. It doesn't feel like courage.
Yeah, it feels, for me, it was like, as soon as I made the decision, it was like a weight lifted off my shoulders, and I didn't even know that weight was on my shoulders. And
that's
I think
the
that is
strangest
how,
thing. You don't know that you have the weight on your shoulders. Isn't that strange?
Yeah, definitely.
I
Now,
remember, go on.
I was just going to ask, to me, I've always called out like my inner guide, and now more lately, I talk about it as wisdom, being able to hear my wisdom. But you did mention that as well, but you talk a lot more about the heart and stuff, and that's definitely something I want to explore with you, because that's where I've always felt like, at least in terms of love and stuff, my heart's a little more closed. I'm like I'm not a lovey-dovey kind of person, so I never think of these kinds of things or that wisdom as coming from the heart. But so I'm really curious, we can dive right into sort of how those things work together, your wisdom and the heart and all that stuff.
I would say it's actually the same. So I'm wondering where you're coming from.
That's what I'm wondering. Is it the same thing?
Yeah, it's kind of, it feels like a higher wisdom. When we speak of love, I think there's maybe too many, imprints or images, like, oh, that's the movie like love, and that's the romantic love. It doesn't mean you have to be a cuddly person. Because I believe that's your image, like, oh, when you're working from the heart or love, you're whooshy.
Yeah. Oh, you don't have to be good.
No, you can just shake hands. You don't have to dive onto anybody. It's actually, I think it's more like also a way of loving yourself. So when you speak of your inner guidance and you follow that and you're not at war with it, that's an act of self-love. So without you being whooshy, you probably find that more people, you attract more people because you radiate that self-love. Is that true?
Yeah, definitely. Compared to, for me, years ago, before my transformation, let's call it, I was very closed off. Nobody, which was fine with me. I was an introvert, and nobody talked to me. I didn't talk to anybody, and that was great for me. But I find now it's funny, because like all of a sudden people are talking to me, and just strangers and stuff, and it's just so different for me. So I must be radiating something, I guess. Or
yeah,
I take more showers. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't say anything on the smelly part. I mean, we're miles away. I think it's really the love energy that radiates, and that's I think if we talk about leadership of the heart, it's about this inner guidance, this inner leadership. Are you ready to listen and to just follow through on that? And then it happens from the inside out. Usually we're so focused on the outside, changing the outside. If I have a better job, I'll be happy. If I have the perfect partner, I'll be happy. If I lose weight, I'll be very happy. If I am healed, only then I will be happy. And it's not true. We're kind of postponing the whole time the joy is what you are, by overthinking something in the future.
Yeah, that's so much the key. I mean, that's what I've learned as well. You know, that so much the key. It's the happiness is already inside of us. It's just a question of getting overridden. In what I have learned, it seems to me, it's, you know, from our thoughts and our ego and stuff. But so how does go ahead?
Well, for companies or business leaders, the same thing applies. If you want to change your company, usually they're changing systems, processes, people, and the quickest and most direct way is to change you. Because things just happen and radiate naturally if you take care of your inner world.
Yeah.
So it's very important that leaders are healers. Actually, I'm already saying it. That they are first most interested, out of an act of self-love, in how am I holding all of this. So whenever a director says to me, I want you to work on distrust within our company, I will first ask him, how is trust settled in your system, in your body, in your experiences? How do you sense trust? And usually what you find, the inside reflects the outside. He has an issue with trust. And if you can feel a sense of trust again, not on a mental level, because that's usually what happens now, and where most of the coaching is focused on, it's on a mental level. Let's say that we both trust each other. I look you in the eye and I say, yes, I trust you, and we don't feel it. So it has to be in alignment with exactly the way you sense things. So if your sensing is distrust, then that's authentic, and that's where you start. And then you build, you're rewiring your trust within your system. And you will see, without even talking, that these leaders actually radiate that, and people act differently around them, like people are acting differently around you. You didn't manage those people. You didn't say, please come to me because I am an introvert and I cannot speak for myself, and would be nice if you could. You just took care of you. Something happened, a shift in you, and then the outside reflected that. So that's kind of the radical change. It's the inside out instead of the outside in approach.
So walk me through what you would do if you go into a leader who says, like what you just said, you know, our whole department is full of mistrust, you know, help me out here. What do I do? How would you work with him to see it in himself and everything else that you just said?
What comes up is a story of last week, where we had a meeting with a board of directors, and I'm with them for a few years already. So they are okay with sensing themselves. So sometimes people are not okay with sensing themselves. I can give you another example of that, but say you can sense that something's off. So what happened, he called me and he had to make a big decision on the future of the company. And he says, I want to call everybody in, but I feel a lot of emotions are stirred by the talk of what's going to happen in the future. So how shall we go about it? And then I ask him how he knows that something is stirred. And then he senses it within himself. And then we sit with that and just quietly walk through it. And it's really about letting it in. That's the first thing. The old way is trying to stop the annoying feeling of distrust. And the new way is just to stay present with it. And then if he could sense into the group what was happening there, he wasn't able. He says, I'm triggered too. and I really want this thing to happen. So I feel I have a judgment over my other colleagues, so I can't sense into them. So I did it, and then I could feel there was a longing for calmness and unity. But at the same time, a lot of emotions were stirred. So we agreed on meeting each other without an agenda, so the whole team. And it's very important that there's no agenda, no ambition, because that just pressurizes the whole group dynamic. And that's where he at first disagreed. He says, I want them to know that I want to have a commitment about the future when we leave. And I said, well, that might be a high expectation. You told me everybody's stirred, so let's first just look into what's in there, what's in the soup, what are we working with? We haven't seen and heard everybody yet. So we started there, and I started off, I was surprised, first of all, because it was a different room. We were sitting around the table, and then one of the members said, you usually say you hate tables when it's a sensitive talk, and this is going to be a sensitive talk, right? And I said, yes, it is. So can we sit by the couch? And I was like, okay, cool. Then I know many of them have an awkward feel about meditation. And so I did a somatic meditation, but now they asked for it. They said, Esther, could you please start with a somatic meditation? It's been a busy day, and everybody's kind of freaked out, so could you start? So I was like, let's have change. So we started out, so then the feeling where you start from is calm and presence instead of the busyness and aggravations of the whole day. That sets the tone for the whole talk. And at the end, everybody was calm. And, or I asked them, how did you experience this meeting? And everybody said calm and quiet. And they did get the commitment. And that's a big thing. And it wasn't the intention. And I think that's important to know. It was not set as a goal. It was set as an exploration of where everybody is, respectfully seeing, is it time yet to take the decision, or do we wait?
Mm-hmm.
That would be one thing. And then,
yeah, I mean, it seems like, from that story and others that I've heard, that, just getting people's minds to be calmer enables them to, it's all, it's really all about directing people to their own inner wisdom, right? Is that sort of basically what you're trying to do when you're speaking with them?
Well, there's also the way that, because what I used to not like is in those 7 years, when people would say, oh, you just listen to the heart. And then I thought, well, sometimes it's really hard. How do you know your heart's talking and not your head's talking? How do you know that?
That's always the biggest question.
Yeah. So I struggled with that. And that's actually when the somatic learning study came on my path. And then I found another way. So, and that's the entry portal is through the sensations that are happening within your body. Because the body always responds. It's in touch with your subconscious and your conscious. So in other words, the body doesn't lie.
Mm.
And there's a way that we have unlearned to listen. We have learned to override when I'm tired, to push a little harder, and so to not listen to these signals. And there's a lot of signals happening in the body. Also, emotions are signals. And we hardly take the time. We actually learn to run away from it, distract ourselves, being busy, whatever we can do to not be with them. And all these sensations, one, is just a place to come home finally. It's like lost children, and they're running everywhere, and they're coming at your door, and you're also not opening. It's like, no, I just want joy and gratitude and all the positive, but I don't want grief or anger or just stay outside. I'm just going to ignore you. But then you hear, the child screaming, and all that really needs to be done is it needs to be held in a space of love. And that's not wishy-washy. It's a thing you can feel in your body that it shifts. So one example was today, actually, in a session where a manager said, okay, no, wait. He didn't say I didn't feel. He said, something happened in a meeting, and I it felt like painful for him, but I wasn't sure if he was aware of it. So I said, so did anything happen that touched your heart in any way? And he says, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. I was like, okay, great. What happened today? Well, nothing. So how was the meeting? How was that meeting for you? And he was like, fine. How was the response of, let's name him Peter? How did it hit you, or how did that came across? And he says, I just noted it down because that's just a confirmation that that's the way he is. And I said, so how did that make you feel? And he wasn't aware of his feelings. And that's when you really can be helpful with somatic intelligence practices. Because first of all, I said, okay, talk a little bit more and just be aware of where your sensations in the body, what parts of your body get influenced when you talk about this.
So is that what the somatic intelligence is? Could you just describe a little bit what that means?
I learned that soma is the abbreviation of stoned out of my ass. just checking in if everybody's in. The soma is to me much more than just a body. It's the heart, it's the soul that speaks through it, it's the mind, it's the integration of everything. And usually we are just living from the brain, not sensing our bodies. So just bringing in the sensing of your body kind of integrates everything more. That's what I have seen. So
yeah, that makes sense. How do you get people to sense it, though?
Well, for instance, with this man that was today, he first started to notice that he was having his arms crossed and his legs was getting jiggly when he was talking about the other person. So that's kind of your body always leaves a kind of energetic imprint on things that trigger you. But this was still, because he was describing it from the outside in, it's still outside in. So then I said, okay, so cross your legs and cross your arms, and how does it feel inside of you? And then he notices that there was a strain around the stomach, his throat. Okay, go into that. And that usually already releases any kind of stuck emotion. Because your body, if you're not giving way to all your emotions or your feelings, it will get stuck somewhere in your body. It becomes a dis-ease. Something is not at ease. And it's usually as soon as you put your awareness there in a loving attention, it opens up. It's like finally, it's like the kid that says, finally someone sees me. So then tears come.
Okay.
So there's a system.
So you just help them get a little quiet and pay attention to their body, basically, and feel where there's tension or there's whatever happening to them, and then by noticing it, it just helps it to disappear. Or
it's just not the noticing, because usually when it comes up and the emotion starts releasing, shame comes up. Oh my God, I'm crying. Okay, I didn't want to cry now, and I'm okay. And it's like, no, that's the juicy part. Keep working at it, because it's a discharge of your body. It's just, it knows two ways: laughter and tears. It's very simple. Nature's way of releasing charges on your body. It's perfect.
And it just spontaneously happens to these people, these business leaders and things, when you're just by kind of keeping them quiet and asking.
I think what also happens, I think bodies interact, energy fields interact. So being present with someone who's been through it, who's not afraid of these feelings, helps your body to come at ease with whatever comes up. Because usually if these people would do it by themselves, they don't get it. Later they get it, because you kind of increase your sensing. Not only for yourself, but at the end also for other people. You can sense other people's emotions in the present. And that, as a business leader, is very interesting. I mean, that also just saves you a lot of time. You don't have to notice everything and keep keep a record, but you can feel into stuff. You can feel into your organization from your home even.
And that comes with the experience of just having noticed it in the past. They start to, once they've that's happened with them enough, they kind of get a feel for it, and then
it's a practice. Yeah. So what you're actually doing, and at one point the body, it's always interesting to learn, and it learns by differentiating. So you tell them, okay, so how's it feeling now? So that's the old way, and how to navigate back into the slipstream of life, which I feel is much more the hard way. So where things happen more in an effortless way, where there's much more joy and interest. And you can even be sad, but it will still be held in a space of joy and love. So it's not like you no longer have sad feelings. It's just you're so okay with every feeling that every feeling becomes interesting. It's like, oh, there comes anger. Wow, and it can be a very transformational force, anger. We kind of learned like not to be angry already as a kid. Are you angry? Ooh, here's a lollipop. Or, ooh, you better not be angry. Did you see the movie Inside Out?
Yes.
You see, there's a lot of things we can learn from our emotions. For instance, sadness. Yeah. I love sadness. I used to run away from sadness before, and now I feel like it's really intimate. It's an intimate feeling. If you ever shared tears with a friend, you know that it can be a very intimate setting. It really brings you back to something humble and intimate inside of you.
So it sounds like to me that a lot of it is somehow what you're managing to do with these people is that you're somehow the judgment of these feelings they're able to go past or not listen to or shut down completely, perhaps. Because that's really what it is. If, like for me, if I just started bursting out crying here, I can just imagine my, judgment would definitely, my embarrassment and everything else. That's just judgment. And that's, of course, just thoughts as well. But it sounds like somehow the space and the presence you bring is helping them to just either not judge or go beyond the judgment, which is really powerful, I can see.
Yeah, well, it happens when you are so interested. It's no effort. It's really no effort. And if you're a leader of the heart, you're an excellent shame killer, or you have a high shame tolerance. It's usually the juicy part is right behind the shame part. It's right behind. Because shame gets you stuck, like, oh, there's something wrong with me, I better hide and keep in the closet. And just behind it, once you get rid of the shame and tears can just flow, there's such freedom and such joy in that, like, I'm finally here. And
so part of your job as being present with them is seeing them as whole and healthy and beyond. You don't, because you're not seeing the shame, and you don't believe in the shame. You know that there's no such thing as the shame. That you're able to that is able to pull them out of get past that shame, it sounds like, which is really you can see definitely how helpful and powerful that will be. I was just gonna say, was it difficult at first, or even still now, to do that with people? I mean, with your own judgments, to be able to suspend your own judgments when you're talking to these people. We're still human, so you certain people rub us the wrong way or whatever, but it sounds like you, at least in that space, you need to be able to go beyond that to be able to help them, not, be able to see them with compassion and as a whole human being. Is that difficult?
No, really not. I mean, I would love to say yes, because I want to.
No, saying no is
convey a message of sameness, or I'm just like any other person, but I really feel every time honored and loved and touched. It really is very touching. And it's a very magical job I have been given to be with those awakenings. Yeah. I even get tears now. Yeah, I really love that.
Well, Well, to be able to be part of that, I could see where that would be really rewarding, to see that, to see people get past shame, especially, of all things. I mean, that's got to be the most difficult thing for us to have to deal with in our lives. And to help people get past that has to be really rewarding.
Yeah, when a mask drops, and sometimes when people take pictures before and after, because the whole facial expression, the way they walk, the way everything becomes so beautiful and soft. So you get to reveal everybody's beauty, and everybody is beautiful. And even if they, because I work a lot with kind of the tough men from harbor and stuff. Even though they're just, I always see kind of the boy behind the whole charade, and I was like, wow, you are so loved, you're perfect.
That's so interesting. Yeah, I've sort of been coming to that conclusion too, just about people in general, is that you just kind of do have to treat them as children, and I don't mean that in a condescending way, but it's like we are all just these little kids looking for love, and looking for attention. And, I see it in relationships, especially close relationships, husbands and wives. And, the more I've been thinking about that, like in terms of my own marriage, the more I just remember, he's just think of him as a kid. And again, not in a condescending way, but he just wants attention and love, just like anyone. And the more I realize that, the more I can give it more unconditionally, and the more it changes our relationship without him even having to do anything. It's amazing. It's quite an amazing thing. And I think if all of us think of people in general that way, that everyone just wants a little attention and love. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. And
it is powerful. One of the change themes. Beginning of this year, we had a meeting with people from nonprofit and profit, and there were like 94 business directors. And we asked them, what are the 3 most important themes happening in your organization? And it was that fear was running, and that they wanted to know the difference between leadership and management. So we want leaders, but we also want managers. And then the third thing, I don't know anymore. But it was, that was the wanting to be seen. Because they do feel they have a responsibility that everybody feels seen. Because once you feel seen, the fear to change yourself is diminished. And everybody is struggling with how change management should be done. And we usually have no issue with the systems or the processes or how to structure the department. But we do have an issue with people, because they are afraid of change. And then it's like, they're not, if we really tap into them. And a kid knows the difference between being really seen or not. And your body still knows if it's really helped and seen, and if it matters. And some leaders think if I just tell them that I really care about them, that it's enough. But if you don't feel it, it won't radiate out.
Right. But people can tell.
Yeah, people can tell.
Yeah.
It's like the same. It was a business owner who wasn't passionate about his business. And he wondered why people within his organization were not as joyful or positive as he would have hoped them to be. Are you joyful and positive about what you do? And he says, no, I don't want to do this. I do this for a few years and then I'm off. Well, that radiates out. Energy speaks louder than words. So your belief systems radiate through that energy field.
Yeah, interesting.
So should we find? Yeah.
Oh, no. Let's do that. That's a good idea. If anyone, I don't think anyone's posted any questions yet. But if anyone has any questions, that would be great. You can raise your hand, or you can send something to the chat.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll check it again in a few minutes.
Yeah, I'm just looking. Someone said something, but I think she had to leave. It's not a question. Yeah, she just had to leave. And I don't see any others. But please feel free, anyone, to type in a question or whatever. I was just going to ask if you. I imagine the answer is probably obvious, but I mean, is there a change in these business people's family life, relationships after you work with them? Even though you're working with them on business issues, presumably it has to translate to their family life.
Oh yeah. I mean, the entry port is always business, but yeah, you take yourself home and something changes within you, it changes also the relationships. I had many letters been sent to me that they found their true love afterwards. So not only things have shifted in my work, but something has shifted in the relationships. So
yeah,
it has kind of an after effect.
And how long do you if in a typical business relationship, how does that work? How long do you work with people, or do you schedule it for a certain number of sessions, or how does that work?
I usually have for individual leaders a program for 3 months, and that's 7 sessions every 2 weeks. And then I usually, even though they still want to continue, I usually let it be and let it rest, because something usually shifts within those 7. That's just out of experience, practical experience has shown me like, oh, within 7 sessions, usually something big shifts. And then I leave them about 6 months, and if something else comes up or they want to go on a deeper level, they come back. So I have clients coming back for 3 or 4 years, and a business for 7. And then if it's on a business level, what I usually do is, that's a Dutch word, I don't know the English word for it, APK. So it's like, there's a maintenance, kind of a maintenance. So again, we do something for like 3 or 4 months, very intensively. And then I see them every quarter, or I see them every month, just to check on how things are going. And then it's just free. If they say, hey, something's stirring in the group, or something's happening within me personally, something's come up. Right. And then we dive into that. And I really like that. So it's, and I'm always involved, and I always know how everything is going, because I'm also a signaler for the company. Because with the distrust of the board of directors, it was something worse about 6 months before, and I said, I think something needs to come up. You guys sense into the team if it's necessary, but I think something needs to happen. So they start talking about it, and then 6 months later it ends up in a meeting. So it's 2 ways. It's they decide, right, and I feel.
So do you often go in when the company has a specific business problem that they're trying to solve and not having any luck? And do you go in there, and then once people have kind of gotten more in touch with their feelings and stuff, that their business problems sort of magically resolve? Is that sort of the reason people would come to you to begin with?
It's typically when there's a reorganization happening that I'm taking care of the hard side of it, because everybody knows how to fire people, but how to keep your the culture healthy, and that we still want to collaborate in those difficult times. And that requires highly sensitive awareness.
Yeah. I could see that being a perfect time, because people are so scared about losing their jobs and things changing, and that makes sense. It sounds like actually a really good target market for you. Yeah. Overall, that could be your niche if you don't have one already.
Yeah, good idea. It kind of seems to come to me. Well, yeah, the reorganization, I mean, that puts pressure on everybody. And when you put pressure on people, triggers go off. And any kind of trigger is usually also an interesting point to see what wants to be healed, or what wants to be held. Let's say it that way. And the other,
I was just going to say, there's a question from Petra just asking, she came in late and was wondering if you come from the Theory U background. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I've heard of the Theory U background. Actually, it worked the other way. I've been doing this for 7 years, and then people came up to me, you're doing Theory U. I don't know, like many models, I kind of stepped away from mental models because it's such a long drive when you can just go directly to the heart. So I know of the theory, but I haven't read anything or.
Yeah, I've never heard of it myself.
Yeah.
Anyone else have questions? She said thanks.
Thank you, Petra.
If anyone's got any other questions, we still have about 10 minutes or so, or a little more even, to go. This has been great so far, and I'm really getting a good understanding of what you do and the purpose of it, and it doesn't sound quite as wishy-washy as
Oh, thank you.
Oh, so wait, here Petra has another. What do you find is the most difficult in your heart-centered work?
Good question. What do I find most difficult in heart-centered work? I think coming from the heart, it's getting better, but it's still seen as wishy-washy. So being ridiculed at first, that makes it heavy. And I was working for a big bank, and I came in and I said I do leadership of the heart, and they all ridiculed. And then there were 18 directors, and we went away for a weekend. In an hour and a half, they were massaging each other's neck. And then they said, if you told us this before, we would never ever signed up. But now it feels normal and natural. And then
you're not feeding them drugs or something along with this.
No, it's really, and it's very safe. It's not awkward things. I don't do pillow jumping thingy stupid. No, it's really directly at the heart because it's a true thing.
So how do you get, people? How do you get these people to even hire you in the first place because of that, misconception? I mean, who you must have they have to have something that, that makes them not scared to do it even to begin with. They have to be somewhat self-aware already or something.
Well, Jill, it kind of works the same way you told me that you're attracting people. Really, well, if you are self-love, you smell like honey. You have something, and I don't know what it is, but I want to talk to you. There is something that is at ease, and when you're at ease and you're radiating love, I just love to hang out with you. I just love to be there. And so I had people from the bank, this assignment, I was given by the regional director who saw me on a speaking event. And then he says, you're a great speaker, and it seems like you do more. What do you do more? And I said, well, I'm a coach, blah, blah, leadership of the heart, and talk about abundance. And then he says, abundance, that's my magic word. Love to talk to you. Tell me more. And then out of that interest, that joy and interest, came a new assignment. He says, I want you to teach my directors how to lead from the heart.
And then they all are probably like, oh, yuck, we got to do this heart thing.
Yeah, they were not all so thrilled to do this. And it's like, but I think it helps. You have an MBA background and you have a face that says, oh, she knows business. Great. And I first meet them at the mental level. I think the universe has done a pretty good job setting me up for this job because I do know about business. I can meet them on a mental level. And that kind of reassures the mostly men.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it with you. I can imagine in even more so in person that you could pretty quickly put the people at ease in a, in that situation. So it makes sense. Just that I could, tell from you just the way you are as well.
Yeah,
Now,
the humor part helps. I mean, and literally it helps. I mean,
what part helps?
humor, just laughter,
Yeah.
humor. You have to have humor, otherwise you won't survive. As soon as this awkward feeling comes in, sometimes you go deeper into love, or you just use a joke, and that seems to come naturally to me. So I don't mind. And it's also meeting them on a mental level, but already cutting through the bullshit. That really helps. And I'm not meaning that in a mean way, but that they know, like, oh, that's something else that she's talking about. That's all that I need for them to come and join me for a weekend intensive. So one of the guys said, when I came into his office to meet him just before the weekend, he looked at all the figures of sickness, absence, leave kind of numbers. How do you call them? HR kind of thing. Well, anyway, so he wanted to show me by numbers that he was really doing really well because his people were not sick. So he knew all about connection and leading from the heart. And then I said, I know these numbers and I know how to influence them, so I don't believe them. So let's talk about the connection you have with your feelings, and then we'll walk around and see how the connection is with your team. And you don't have to change for me. I'm here as an invitation. You can take it on, but you don't have to. So that got him curious. And then when we were walking around, some tension was happening. People walking away and you don't feel really warm, welcome. Everybody's happy. One of the coffee machines was broken, and then it was a very highly expensive espresso machine, and I loved coffee. So I said, oh, why didn't I get coffee from that machine? And he said, it was in a business lounge, and then he said, oh, that one has been broken for like 6 months, but I'm happy because all the employees were tapping from them. And then I said, wow, and you're not getting them an espresso machine because they really like their coffee? Good. Yeah, so show me again the numbers. You got it.
Yeah, but he's heart-centered.
He sent me a year after a picture of a new espresso machine.
Good.
With the note, I got it. Don't worry. You didn't say this to deaf ears.
If you did nothing else for them, at least you got their employees espresso.
You know what? Leadership of the heart can bring you good coffee.
Right. The employees thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do we got? Any other questions from anyone here?
I see something in the chat. Did we get all the questions? What was that?
I think that was just Petra's. That's all I see.
So she said, what's the most difficult thing about heart-centered work? Yeah. That's
right, which is what I think you were just answering. Unless do you have other things to add to that?
Well, it's a lot of, some people think you're just doing the coaching sessions, but like a half hour before, I tend not to take on any phone calls and really already tune in with myself. So I'm as clean as possible and completely present to whomever is coming. And then a half hour later, I also have to kind of get the person rippled out, and then I get extra information of the things that have been said and I note them down. So it's a whole package deal. And in the meantime, I'm constantly busy with keeping myself clean or healed or held in a nice way, and learning, constantly learning.
Yeah.
That's usually what I say is the only difference between you and me is that my full-time job is about healing, and you're doing something productive, and next to that, you have to do this. So that's the only difference.
Yeah. It makes sense to being, your procedure, you're being present yourself, how key that is. I think that's the way to be able to see these people with the most compassion and stuff too, by your becoming present and overriding your own, keeping your own mind quiet so that, you do see.
And you have to be very careful not to be ambitious about any coaching sessions.
Like having no expectations.
Having no expectations. This person does not need to be held or healed. It's perfect in its way. It's just me reflecting back his or her beauty and magnificence, and then it will radiate and do its own thing. So it's really getting out of the way.
Yeah, I love how what you do now that I'm understanding it a lot better than the last time we talked. It's so similar to the same stuff that I've been learning, but we've come at it from so completely different ways of learning. It just shows you that how much it's all the same. It's because the stuff I've learned too is all inside out as well. And if you think the outside world is what's causing your grief, then it's going to be hard for you. The more you start to realize how much it's generated from within you and your thoughts and everything else, that's when stuff happens. And it really sounds to me, now that I understand what you're saying, is it's just very similar, only it's just slightly different words that you use. And but basically it's being able to just be in touch with our feelings, how much that and how much we're not, as in this kind of society that we all live in. It's just so busy and so much going on. We're just so out of touch with our feelings. I was talking about this in the webinar I did earlier about being healthy and fit, how we don't listen to our bodies at all. And I think the more you do start to eat healthy and get fit and stuff, you at least for me, I was able to really start listening to my body a lot more and know what it needs for nourishment or exercise and things. But most people are just so out of touch with that. So it's great that you're helping people to get more in touch with that. And I can see how it changes. For me, it's changed my whole life, by hundreds of thousands of times, and sounds like it has done for you and your clients as well. You have anything else to add before I think we're just about up to the hour here, which was great.
Yeah, there's a thing that I would like to add, is that it's really, I hear a lot about letting go, and I think letting go is kind of a catch-22, because it's like, not think of a pink elephant, what are you thinking of?
Yeah.
If you want to let go of sadness, the only way to let go of sadness, to go in, is really let it in. And that's actually where we haven't learned this at school. The brain has been trained, but we haven't learned how to deal with the feeling side and the emotional side. And which then gives us business leaders who perfectly know from a rational side how to organize stuff. And they don't know how to organize feelings and emotions. And how to approach them. So I really want to stress that it's really important to let them in, and that it is a scary place. At the beginning, I didn't want that. And every time I could feel something would come up, I would also just push it away. We are so trained in distracting ourselves, trying to stop feeling. We should unlearn. And then we stop the war within ourselves and stop the war outside of ourselves. It all becomes a happy place.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be great if we were, as kids, we have this anyway, and it, it's almost like we're taught the opposite. And wouldn't it be great if we didn't, if more kids were taught that this is the normal, the way you kids are is how it's supposed to be. Don't grow up and be, like us. It would, that would really change the world.
Yeah, it's when we were born and we're kids, we're whole, and we have a sense of whole, and we're not interested in getting there. We're just, today is miraculous, today's magic, now is great. It's not even thinking about where to have pancakes later. It's just here, everything is interesting. It's just following his joy and interest, like, oh, there's a flower, and whoa, I don't know, a grasshopper, I don't know what, everything is interesting and joyful, and it's going through every emotion, and it's not holding back. It's crying. Music starts. Ooh, joyful. It's just constantly in response to whatever comes up and the environment, and there's no fast forwarding or rewinding. And that's actually the safest place to be. It's just to be here and now, follow your joy and interest.
So just one last question on that. Do you think it's possible, because that's the way I live my life now, but I'm not really, I'm not in a heavy duty, stressful job. So I try to live in the moment and do what comes up. But do you think it's possible, like in a business setting, like, for people to really be able to sort of live in the moment and still be productive?
Yeah, the strangest thing is you are more productive.
Yeah. Because you don't have all the thoughts going on in your head to listen to, so you're just doing shit.
Yeah, and it's also like you said, if you use that inner guidance, like for instance, this year I went to Hawaii, and if I thought about it, it would never happen, because my thinking would say that's very expensive. Where are you going to stay? Where are you going to get that money from? And then I felt like I really needed to go. Something was pulling me. And then I was in San Francisco, and then I thought, well, from San Francisco, it's much cheaper. And then I have friends in San Francisco whom I, know people in Hawaii. I don't know, just ask around.
Yeah, that's right, because you and I are going to meet there.
Yeah. We're going to surf, right?
We're going to learn to surf in February.
And then in Hawaii, and then a person came up from a student that I met 2 years ago, and she lived in Hawaii, and I didn't know. Somebody told me that. Yeah, this lady, she lives in Hawaii. Here's her email, and you can email her. And then she says, yeah, you can stay at my place. There's a room. And I ended up, she had a huge villa with a house next to it. And I was like, whoa, and I can stay there. And it was $20. And then I got to Hawaii, and then these amazing things happen. But that will be another talk. The spirit field, energy field.
But it is, going with the flow. I agree. I think, like you say, you be more productive, and it's really hard for people to grasp that. But, and I think people can just try it out for yourself. You don't have to believe either of us, when it comes to that. Just see in your own life how it is an inside out world, and how you can, listen to that inner guide, and it will serve you for sure. So how can people reach you if they want to know more or get in touch or whatever?
Well, you can go to my website, www.leadershipoftheheart.com, or my YouTube channel. I think the best way to find my YouTube channel, someone told me, is Esther Van Toledo and not Leadership of the Heart. Apparently the name works better. You know about search engines. I don't know why it's not picking up on leadership, but... Oh,
all right. Great.
Cameron says something. What does he say? Can you read it?
I have no questions, but I found it incredible to be hearing so many familiar things from you. Brings tears to my eyes quite a few times. Thanks for this great talk, Jill and Esther. Thank you. That's awesome.
Thank you, Cameron.
And I don't know how to say the name. You probably do. Gitte at the beginning had said, hello, everyone. I love what Jill asks and Esther answers. I'm so tired of my busy work week. I can't give my full attention. I need to go and sleep to feel better tomorrow.
Yeah, do that. Listen to your body.
Yeah. And then Petra says thanks. So let's, I think we'll end this now. And so you can be reached. You said yours. I'm at whatdidyoudowithjill.com. If anyone wants to sign up for my newsletter, you'll get notified of when my blog posts are out, as well as other interviews and things like this that I'll hopefully be doing in the future, and other things. So thank you very much, Esther. This has been wonderful and really, really helpful, because I really was curious about all this stuff. So I appreciate you talking to us, and thank you everybody who came.
And thank you, Jill. I thought it's amazing. You arranged everything, and we just came. This is another thing. We didn't plan on anything. We just followed our joy and interest, and then you said, hey, whatever you're speaking of sounds interesting. I think more people should learn about this, and this is how this all came together. But thank you for all the work, and thank you for arranging this, and thank everybody and for joining in and taking a time out of your day for this precious.
What I'm going to do is just unmute everyone and they can just give us a nice, if I can remember how to do it, give us a nice raucous goodbye. Okay. Everyone, you're unmuted. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. All right. Bye. I'm going to stop.